Well, Disney's done it again. In the last 3 decades, Disney's Pixar has easily made some of the best animated movies of all time. Not only are they deeply layered with thought-provoking messages, compellingly developed characters, and the most emotionally draining scenes you'll ever see in a film, but they also have nice bright colors, which makes my brain very happy. Even a franchise like Cars, which I've been very critical towards, I think has an overall positive influence on the world of animated movies. So why does it sound like I'm glazing Disney so hard? Well, concerned viewer, that's because I'm not. Every movie I've shown and mentioned so far has been a Pixar-produced project. I know Disney kind of owns Pixar, but from what I read online, Pixar still operates as a completely independent animation studio, which brings me to the funniest Disney interaction I've probably ever heard. In 2013, Disney decided to release a movie called Planes. You see, after the commercial success of the first 2 Cars movies, Disney got really excited and immediately asked Pixar, the people who made those movies, to make a spin-off version about planes. Like, yeah, cars are pretty cool, but you know what's even cooler? Traveling across the Y-axis. Wait, Cars made $10 billion? Okay, maybe Cars are a little cooler. The funny part about this entire story, though, is that allegedly, when Disney approached Pixar to basically rip off their own movie, Pixar actually said no, so apparently Disney got mad and said, whatever, we'll just make it ourselves. What could possibly go wrong? Disney's Planes is currently the lowest rated film in the entire franchise, which is funny because in some weird way, Disney basically tried ripping off a movie they already own and somehow made it worse in every way imaginable. So because watching bad movies causes me mental anguish and you guys love watching me suffer, today I'll be watching and explaining the entire Planes movie in full to see if Disney kind of popped off or if they completely massacred my boy. A single intro cannot do this movie justice. You won't believe what actually happens in this thing. Anyway, go grab your copy of Spyro Enter the Dragonfly and let's watch what may be Disney's biggest fumble ever, Disney's very own Planes. This movie begins with an immediate title card, but of the Cars movie? We're not even 5 seconds into this movie yet and we're already talking about a different movie. What on earth have I got myself into? The main character of this movie is a plane named Dusty Crophopper. We're told about how he's the best racer in the world as he 1v2s these fighter jets like he's playing Mario Kart on 50cc or something. Of course, this ends up being some sort of daydream because Dusty is just a crop duster plane, which means he's at least 8 to 9 times slower than a fighter jet in every way imaginable. And while I was holding my laughter in for hearing the term crop duster being used in a serious term for the first time in my entire life, I found out that a crop duster is basically just a farmer, but in plane form. In the movie, Dusty calls his best friend Chug, who is basically just Mater from Cars. Both of these dudes are the simple-minded, goofy types, and they're always very supportive of their main character best friends. The only real difference is that Chug isn't voiced by Larry the Cable Guy, which means he's missing his iconic southern accent, and I'm gonna be honest, that's like 90% of what made Mater so funny. So, while Dusty is flying around, something inside him blows up, I think. And it's not even while he's pushing himself, like he's just cruising at a regular speed and something goes wrong.
Aileron? Oh yeah. Oh, great.
Dude wants to be a racer but can't even glide without falling apart. I wonder if he meets a wise mentor that teaches him new techniques. I'll be making a lot of comparisons between this and the Cars movie later on, but I do want to mention that despite looking almost identical in animation style, the way characters move in planes somehow looks worse to me. Like, it looks worse than a movie that came out 7 years before it. It's got a very Coco Melon type feel, everything is oddly stiff, and it just very obviously doesn't have that attention to detail that Pixar is mostly known for. And even though Disney was extremely deceptive in trying to make people think that this was actually a Pixar movie with its marketing, obviously this just ended up biting them in the ass. It's like when you bluff in Balatro only to lose your hand anyway. I don't even know if that joke makes sense. I've never played Balatro. I'm sorry. We then meet a character named Dottie. She's the mechanic that works on the main character. She's honestly not that important, but she does have one absolutely insane moment in this movie that'll probably make you rethink your entire existence. But first, let's face it, browsers are the unsung hero of our digital lives. But not all browsers are created equal. That's why I'm thrilled to have Opera as the sponsor for today's video. Their latest update, Opera One R2, is packed with smarter, sleeker, and way more fun features. First, there's a floating music player you can detach and move anywhere, even outside the browser. You can choose from 7 different music streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and more. You can also skip or change songs without interrupting your browsing at all. Customization is next level with Opera's themes like Aurora and Midsummer, offering animated backgrounds, custom sounds, and UI colors to match your vibe. What's that? Need to multitask? Just drag a tab downwards and bam! Split screen mode. Perfect for streaming or note-taking side by side. And for my fellow tab hoarders, tab traces leave a subtle underscore on recently visited tabs. No more losing your way in clutter. The darker the underscore, the more recently you visited that tab. And for an even cleaner experience experience, check out Tab Islands for grouping and collapsing tabs to save space and browse effortlessly. But the coolest feature, that's Aria, Opera's built-in AI. You can access Aria's command lines with just a few simple keys to ask questions, and even generate images from a single prompt, and all this without breaking your workflow at all. Aria even has image recognition so you can analyze uploaded photos. Truth is, Opera One R2 isn't just a browser, it's a smarter way to navigate the web. Try it now through the link in my description and see the difference. Back to the video. So we're with Dusty and Chug now, and they're binging Hell's Kitchen all night. Dusty's kind of sad because he wants to be an expert racer and not a lonely farmer. The two end up going to visit this retired army veteran that can't fly anymore. His name is Skipper, and this entire interaction is honestly very stupid. I'll explain why in a bit.
I heard you shot down 50 planes.
You looking to be number 51?
Oh, this guy's super unlikable in the first 5 minutes of this movie. I wonder if he'll learn to be more welcoming as the movie progresses. If you couldn't tell by just a short clip, Skipper is essentially this movie's Doc Hudson. He's the wise old man who's been through it and has good advice. Probably. He basically leaves Dusty on red and blocks all communications with him. It's the next day now, and despite taking a huge L last night, Dusty's feeling pretty confident about the race he's participating in. You heard me right. The plane who was made to farm wheat his entire existence is racing against some of the fastest non-jet military planes in this movie's lore. Also, does this dude forget he almost died last night? Dude's waiting to race instead of waiting to see a doctor. Sounds like this guy is the wrong kind of patient. So this race that Dusty's taking part in is actually some sort of time trial. No one's racing with him on the track, but everyone has to finish the same course as fast as they can, and the top 5 get to participate in the actual race. The main point for this time trial to even exist is really just to have a sneaky way to insert Dusty into the main race. It's a way for him to skip the line past all the other hardworking planes that have probably trained their whole life for this moment. The irony isn't lost on me that a corporate overlord took their ideas for this one from a studio who's famously known to work really hard on their details. Art imitates life, I guess. Anyway, it's Dusty's turn to do the trial. No one can believe a plane like him is about to race, which should honestly show you just how impossible it is for this guy to ever win something like this.
A crop duster? Man, what's going on here? Is everybody getting to fly today?
Everyone laughs at him as he's about to take off. Dusty does the trial and he's insanely fast somehow. He must have bought the speed potion for 250 Robux. All jokes aside, this scene is like a minute long and is really only there to show us how much heart the main character has, because Dusty finishes the course really fast, but not fast enough to be in the top 5. He was actually 1 second off. That's really unfortunate, not gonna lie. I've always wondered how those people in Mr. Beast videos feel when they get second place and lose out on a bunch of money. This is how they feel. This is the answer to that question.
Hey, pal. 6th place ain't nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, the farmers still beat like 10 other planes somehow. I can't wait for the main character to speed past a NASA space shuttle in Act 3. That'll be hype. The next day, and Dusty is all sad now. But then, some random delivery guy shows up to let Dusty know that actually, even though he didn't get the top 5, he's been entered into the huge race anyway because another random plane from the time trial was cheating. They make a joke about how this other plane was using steroids or something. This is meant to be a way to give Dusty a second chance, although it kind of delegitimizes the integrity of the race. But whatever. I can't knock it entirely because even though this movie takes a lot from Cars, this idea is at least different from that movie. No, instead it does this movie trope that we see time and time again, where there's a goofy little dude and he's kind of weak, but then he starts believing in himself, so I guess he's actually really good at the thing he was supposed to be bad at. Funny how that always works out for those guys. Skipper shows up out of nowhere like a FNAF jump scare and immediately starts giving Dusty some flying tips. Turns out he's been spying on him this entire time. That's kind of creepy. Someone should call social services. The two set up a time to start training. Dusty puts like 7 alarms on because you know his ass is used to sleeping in all the time. The next morning and the two start the training. At first, Dusty is all cool and fast, but then he goes high up, has a panic attack, and fails horribly. This is almost exactly what happens with Lightning McQueen and Doc Hudson. Just want to point that out. Turns out the big message here is that Dusty's fears are holding him back because he mentions that he's actually scared of heights.
I'm afraid of heights.
You're a plane.
Dude, you have one job, and it's to fly really high up. I wonder if he's scared of clouds, too. So despite a plane being scared of heights being the silliest plot in a movie maybe ever, Skipper keeps training Dusty, but while keeping in mind that he's gotta stay low because he can't go high because he's scared. Dusty trains some more. We see some tractors like the ones from Cars. They even tip over because any reference at all equals funny haha. Doesn't matter if it's well executed or not. Laugh now. Dottie even upgrades his engine engine or something at one point, and I think that makes him significantly faster. Not sure why she didn't do that before the time trials from earlier. Maybe they were too busy being anxious. I don't know. One of my main criticisms of the first Cars movie was just how slow it felt at times. When I originally watched it, it felt like Lightning McQueen did a whole lot of nothing in Radiator Springs for like 80% of the movie. But the more I look back at it, the more I think that actually makes the movie really special. It pretends to be a movie about racing cars, but really it's a lot more emotionally involved than that. Which is why it's hilarious that Disney picked up on almost none of those themes at all and really did just make a movie about planes who want to race. Like, that's the whole movie. This movie moves extremely quick. Look at that. You blinked once and we're already at the big race. No time to waste. Gotta tell this story as fast as possible. Here we meet all the other planes that are participating in the race. There's an overly British dude who has perfect British teeth. There's a Mexican guy who wears a luchador mask. There's this Indian girl who's a little flirty. Dusty makes a joke about her butt.
Look at that propeller.
And perhaps the best part of all of this, when we meet the main bad guy of this movie finally, and I'm gonna say this very, very slow. The bad guy in this movie is a dude named Ripslinger. He's very arrogant, he's very overconfident, he openly makes jokes at our main character's expense and talks a lot of trash. If you couldn't tell, he's literally exactly like Chick Hicks from Cars, down to the color of his paint job. Not exactly what I'd call subtle.
Makes it to the big time,
Yes, sir.
but tragically crashes on takeoff.
What?
Is this guy threatening to kill someone? Why are planes so hardcore compared to cars? It's time for the big race to start, and for some reason the guy announcing everything is a car, not a plane. That's not the title of this film. You're in the wrong movie. Also, I find it funny that almost every single shot of a character working in this movie is usually one of those small forklift dudes, because those are the only vehicles that have something resembling hands so they can like move stuff around. That and everyone in the crowd is always a car for some reason. I haven't personally done a head count on how many cars are in this movie because that would be very stupid, but I'm pretty confident in saying that there are at least 3 times as many cars as planes in this film. Again, not a big deal, but the movie is called Planes. The race begins and Dusty immediately falls into last place. It's a very treacherous fight as he goes across freezing parts of the ocean. Not sure if I've said this already, but turns out this race goes across the entire world, so it's split up into multiple smaller races. This is kind of exactly what Lightning McQueen does in Cars 2. Some of my comparisons might be a stretch, okay, I'll admit that, but this one straight up feels like it's just copying another movie. Dusty shows up to the first checkpoint of the first race in Iceland. I'm guessing he's in last place because while everyone there is just chilling and having a good time, he comes in with stage 4 hypothermia. Dusty is sad but gets a pep talk from his mentor. It really is just that easy. Just stop being sad. The next leg of the race is from Iceland to Germany. Nothing really important happens here except for the British guy who breaks down randomly. Everyone flies by him and doesn't care at all, but Dusty flies next to him and throws his standing in the race to help him not die. Lightning McQueen did exactly this to help that one blue car in the first Cars movie. Although the reason it worked in Cars is because Lightning McQueen was shown to be very childish, but ultimately had to overcome his own insecurities to become more mature and a well-respected athlete. Whereas Dusty is like already perfect and just a nice guy doing something nice. Maybe I missed that part in the movie, but Dusty doesn't really have any character flaws, honestly, which makes moments like these kind of annoying. Instead of meaning anything, it just tells us yet again that our main character can do no wrong. I guess his main flaw is that he like dreams big or something, I don't know. Where's his Homelander moment? We need this guy to unleash the beast at least once if you want me to care.
I couldn't have done it without you. You saved me.
What a good guy. The only thing nicer than Dusty is Pixar for letting Disney take all their ideas.
Hey, crop duster, you are a nice guy.
Everyone's in Germany now, so of course we have some stereotypes in full effect. Thank goodness it's only these ones. Dusty has a talk with El Chupacabra, who's the Mexican plane I mentioned earlier. I wish I was kidding. This guy takes over the best friend mater copycat duties instead of Chug. I think the writers realized halfway through writing this thing that a fuel truck probably wouldn't be able to be in half of the scenes where they're flying, so this guy is the best friend now. Out of nowhere. Why not? The next leg of the race takes us to India. Insert an overly mean India meme here. I guess at the previous stop, Dusty got rid of his sprayer that he used to dust all the crops. This makes him a lot lighter and in turn a lot faster. That's how physics work. So now instead of dusting crops, he's just dusting the competition. I stole that joke from the dialogue in this movie. But don't worry guys, okay, something tells me that this movie is okay with people stealing things. How ironic would it be if this video got copyright claimed for showing too much footage? What a cruel world we live in. The next part of the race is to Nepal. The planes have to go up a mountain, but Dusty can't do that because he's scared, so he goes through a tunnel instead. No one else has ever thought about doing this, apparently, so Dusty is somehow in first place now. He clearly plays a lot of GTA 5. That's like the first thing people do in that game. Dusty becomes a huge star overnight and everyone loves him. The switch up is actually crazy because people did not believe in him like 3 days ago. We see a bunch of shots of cars watching the race. race? Seriously, there's not a single plane in sight. There's this whole subplot where Dusty helps El Chupacabra rizz up another competitor. Honestly, I do want to make fun of this scene because it's so silly, but the singing actually goes kind of hard in this. What can I say? I'm a sucker for Latin music. The next leg of the race is from China all the way to Mexico. They had already gone to China by this point. I think I forgot to mention that. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Ripslinger has some of his boys attack Dusty over the ocean, which is not only super illegal, but totally something Chick Hicks would do if he was a plane, so I'm counting it as a stolen idea. It's my channel. I can do what I want. What? Surely that's extremely dangerous to do over the ocean. Is that vehicular manslaughter or just regular manslaughter? Dusty loses his antenna, so he's got no clue where he's going. He eventually gets found by some fighter jets and they guide him onto an aircraft carrier. There's this long scene where Dusty finds out his mentor, Skipper, isn't actually who he initially said he was or something. That's close enough to what Doc Hudson did in Cars. That's a copy in my book. I'm counting it. I know me skipping through some of the story is gonna make some people very mad. This video isn't that serious. I have no idea what I'm doing. Dusty almost drowns later that night. It's very epic, just trust me. The last leg of the race starts the next day. Dusty was broken, but is now all repaired thanks to Dottie. Remember when I said she had an insane scene in this movie, by the way? I might have been exaggerating just a little bit, you know, as I do. But Dottie does have a deep talk with Dusty, which ultimately leads to him not giving up. So technically, okay, she did carry the entire story on her back. Without her, none of this happens. So I'm so sorry. I have no idea how to spin this for it to make sense. Anyway, Ripslinger is still being all evil and stuff.
I can still smell the farm on you.
'Cause I'm coming.
Everyone is racing towards New York City. Despite starting in last place and having like 3 bad guys continuously try to kill him the entire time, Dusty somehow makes his way to the front of the pack. Skipper, the mentor, randomly shows up and almost dies.
Oh, okay.
The race comes down to Dusty and Ripslinger with the bad guy in the lead. Dusty thinks that there's only one way to win this race, and that's by going high. So just like that, Dusty overcomes his fear of heights, goes above the clouds, and then passes Ripslinger to win the race. I'm not sure how going higher here gives him the edge. Like if anything, it would slow him down, right? Because he's not beelining directly towards the finish line. Maybe there's an actual answer to this. Maybe I'm just being very stupid. That's very possible. Dusty passes Ripslinger at the last possible second and wins it all, despite being a little farm boy with no prior racing experience at all. Everyone's super hype, and the message of this movie is just to believe in yourself, because who cares that you have a stock engine from 1999? Just fly upward and you can literally beat anyone. So is planes really that bad? Well, it's definitely not really that good. If this thing existed in a vacuum, I guess I'd disregard it as just another movie I don't personally find special. But the truth is, it takes so much from another movie that it never really feels like its own thing. I understand that Planes is in the Cars franchise, and actually, turns out there's a fair bit of overlap with some of the crew members who worked on this movie, but it just feels so void of creativity. It feels like everything that happens in this has been done before. It's so weird. I don't know. The characters feel depressingly similar. The concept is weirdly the same. Like, you can do so much with planes. Why did you have them race around the world exactly like cars? I don't get it. Because I was curious, I even watched the second Planes movie, which no one ever talks about for some reason. And that movie, even with its flaws, is so much better of a spin-off than this one is. It's basically this cool firefighter story. The whole thing is very emotional, and it still takes a lot from other movies, but it all makes sense within the character's abilities. The farmer doesn't try to become a super athlete because why would he? That doesn't make any sense. If you want more cars, honestly, just watch Planes, Fire and Rescue. It's funnier, it's more engaging, and in my opinion, it's just more cool. I liked it. I don't know. Will I ever make a video on that movie? Probably not, because like no one really cares, but you never know. Maybe I judged you too harshly. After watching Planes, you deserve to go up somewhere. This movie is so bad that it actually made Cars 3 good. Check it out. You see it right there? Anyway, this video is kind of all over the place. Disney ripped off their own movie one time, and shocker, it was a bad idea. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to support the channel, you can become a member for only a single $1. It gets your name at the end of all my future videos right here and will eventually get you some exclusive reaction content or something. I'm working on it. It's taking some time. I appreciate all my current members so much. You guys are the best. I'm so thankful for you. Also, real quick, happy birthday, Mick. I know I'm really late to this, but I hope you're having lots of fun with your VR headset. Your mom tells me you've been nice, which is awesome. Keep being cool, dude. I hope everyone watching enjoyed the video. Paula Abdul scores this one a solid Broken Plane out of 5. And yeah, thanks for watching.
A crop duster? Man, what's going on here?
I'm coming.